I've never actually spoke about this publicly, but I got into a really bad gambling addiction. When I was 14, 15 years old, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. As I got older and I started making more money, whenever I felt like I needed a dopamine rush, I resorted to gambling. It got really, really bad. I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, unfortunately. The guilt and the shame overtook me for a long time, and I was able to lose and walk away for a long time and make it just like a fun hobby.
Let's have a real conversation about what it looks like to hit 20, 30, 40 grand a month as a closer.
I run a company called RCI, Remote Cleaning Institute. It's been going absolutely amazing. We've changed so many lives.
After building this for a year and some change, like what are some of the things that you did not expect?
The biggest surprise I think I've had is making money creates different problems. Real fulfillment doesn't come from the actual money that you're making in your business.
What are some of your goals going forward into the next 6 to 12 months? Evan, welcome to the pod, bro.
What's up, dude?
Super excited to connect, man. So I know we've been jamming for the last couple minutes, but I think the best place to start off now that we're live is tell me a little bit about your business.
Yeah.
What you guys are up to right now, and then we can kind of dive into that.
Yeah. So thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do this. But yeah, man, I run a remote cleaning offer company called RCI, Remote Cleaning Institute. And yeah, dude, it's been going absolutely amazing. We've changed so many lives. I have a little over 150 students right now in about 30 different states. And honestly, it's the first thing in my life where I genuinely feel like I'm making fulfilled money. And when I say fulfilled money, it's, we're entrepreneurs. We've been doing things for a really long time. And I've come to the reality, it doesn't really matter how much money you're making if you don't actually enjoy what you're doing. And people of mine and friends have told me, the money you make, it could just be a funnel into the other things that you're doing in life.
Sure.
And yes, sometimes that is essentially true. But imagine you can wake up every day and truly enjoy what you do and change lives and help people, right?
And it's direct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So RCI has been a blessing, man. Our students are absolutely crushing it. And yeah, dude, it's been great.
Awesome. So when did you start officially?
So I sold my remote cleaning business and then I started RCI. I actually went out to, have you ever heard of the Bali Time Chamber? So the Bali Time Chamber, it's a super alpha male place in the middle of the woods in Bali, Indonesia. And it's a place where you literally go, men entrepreneurs, you work, you eat steak. It's like you eat up to 1 kilo of meat a day. You work out and just work on your business. So after I sold my company, I went there for clarity, to truly understand what I wanted to do, what the next steps were. To be frank, I didn't want to go in the coaching space because of the stigma around it. My friends came to me.
What stigma? No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, we know the stigma. My friends came to me and they were like, dude, do you know you can help people in this? Yes, go for it. So from there, I decided to build it last June and we really took off around last September.
Okay. So start in June, put everything in place, then you started launching off on September. Okay. So before we dive into the business and some of the metrics and things like that, I guess one thing I like to always ask is like, what are you surprised by after building this for a year and some change? Like, what are some of the things that you did not expect?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So I think one thing I didn't expect is when you first hit your first 10K month, you think it's the greatest thing in the world, right? It's
Definitely.
like what all entrepreneurs want to hit. I want to hit $10,000 a month. You feel so happy, but as you grow in the ranks and as you go from that 10 to 50K a month to 100K a month, you realize everything is just a number and real fulfillment doesn't come from the actual money that you're making in your business. And the biggest surprise I think I've had is how making more money, yes, it's allowed me to do more things, have more fun in my life, provide more for my family, that kind of stuff. It didn't solve my problems, and I think just like everyone, I have a lot of problems and I have a lot of things that I'm working through just in general with my life, in business, and just with a whole scope of things. Making money creates different problems.
Yeah. I think the good way to think about this, right, is that money solves money problems.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about problems a lot. And I am running an offer right now and we're scaling and there's always a problem. There's always something that's on fire. And a few of my guys on my team are sometimes flustered by this, right? And it's like, there's all these problems, this and that, like I can't catch a break, and they get kind of angry. But I've had to train myself over time to recognize that problems are literally, that's what business is.
Yeah.
We build a business so that we can solve problems. And so for us to expect that they'll go away, it's probably the opposite of the truth, right? And I can't remember who it was, but I think it was a comedian. I can't recall his name, but he said something along the lines of, all we have is time and attention. And so therefore, when we have problems, let's just deploy our time and attention. Otherwise, what are we doing, right? Just like, of course, there's a time to enjoy yourself and try to not have problems, right? But that's what it's about. And I also got caught up in this goalpost thing where it's like 10, 20, 50, 100. But as you actually grow, the problems grow as well. And when you're growing linearly, sometimes the problems feel exponential. And it's like if you 10x your business, you're going to 10x your problem set, right? And so I think a lot of people that are watching that might not be there yet. It's like, hey man, money's only going to actually make you have more problems. I was talking to my mentor, Dickie, who I used to work for, and he's really successful in a bunch of areas. And he's someone that I try to emulate. And he had crossed a 7-figure net worth and achieved a few different big boy milestones. And he had just told me on one of our one-on-ones like a year and a half ago, he's like, man, if I could just, I know it won't sound right for you, but if I could just go back to worrying about the leads and just worrying about my close rate, like, God, I wish for some of that, because he's having to allocate capital and make all these family decisions and all this stuff. And it's like, you think it'll just go away, but it doesn't.
And to your point, it's funny. It's like everyone wants to be an entrepreneur without actually enduring what it even means, right? And I came to the realization in my entire life, I've always thought, why would anyone want to go work for someone else, build someone else's pockets? Why is that even an option in most people's brains? But for some people, honestly, I get it. They want to go do their thing and they don't want to think about work, or they don't want to think about anything financials after 5 o'clock, right? That's not the lifestyle I ever want for myself, but I think I understand why people do it and why people get into sales, et cetera, is because, it's like being an entrepreneur, you have a whole nother level of responsibility. And I think that something that a lot of people don't talk about is the pressure you feel. It's the pressure, and it's not only the pressure of yourself, but you got people working for you. You got families to feed. If you don't have leads in your business, your closers aren't eating.
Yeah, I got a text the other day from the founder of the offer that I work with, and he said, "Are we going to get $80,000 this week so we can make payroll?" And it's like, how could I clock out at 4 o'clock when I get a text message like that? And so one thing I've really been thinking through as I've started to make content and have these conversations is that a lot of this Instagram stuff is just complete nonsense. And I had known it intuitively, but for the layperson that's just haven't entered the arena yet, it's really confusing and it's almost like gaslighting in a way. Like, I'm not going to mention any names, but let's say you have someone and we can talk about sales. Yeah. Sales is kind of like the new biz op, right? On the streets. It's like, get into remote sales. It's like, okay, buddy, let's have a real conversation about what it looks like to hit 20, 30, 40 grand a month as a closer. So that's kind of the stance that I want to take, is like, hey, they didn't tell you that it's going to be really hard and you're going to have to take 12 calls a day and you're going to second guess yourself probably multiple times every single day. And one thing that I was thinking about is someone had gave me this idea that like a lot of older people that are in their 40s and their 50s, they're starting to act younger again and they're reclaiming their youth. And a lot of our 20-year-olds that are probably a lot of people watching this in their 20s, they feel like they're so behind. And, hey, it's like, raise your hand if you feel behind, and it's like, I think what Instagram does is it puts all of the problems of the future onto us right now, especially as a young kid in our generation, because it's like, well, here's all the things you're gonna have to worry about for the next decade, except I'm gonna give it to you in an hour and just like feed it to you. And so I really want to remind people that when you get into entrepreneurship, if you are the type of person that is willing to take the risks, that wants the freedom eventually, you have to learn to endure, and so many people I don't think it's because they disrespect the opportunity, but it's because they're not really aware of how much it actually takes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you want freedom, right? It's like, that's a gigantic claim that not a lot of people are ever going to be making in their life. So you think you're just going to walk in and do some sort of skill for a year and then you're going to blow up, right? Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, it's a long game. And so,
yeah. And to your point, exactly, I think people also get stuck into, I'm sure analysis paralysis, right? They know what they want, right? They want the car, they want the nice life, they want the 100K months, but they're not actually willing to put in the work. What they do, they're watching a bunch of YouTube videos, right? Hopping on a bunch of biz app calls, and they never actually take action on anything, right? And they get also stuck into shiny object syndrome, right? Starting one thing to another thing, which I know in my life I've done so many times. I'm sure you've done it. I think every single entrepreneur has done it. A lot of people don't stick with something for long enough to even be able to see the actual success and the fruits of their labor, right? They just stop and they quit when it gets hard. And you will never be able to accomplish anything in your life if you do that, right? And it's, I think that the biggest turning point for me in my life is, I started when I was 14 years old, going door to door, selling bracelets and just doing everything I possibly can to make money. The first business I've ever had, was that. And then when I was 15, I met a guy. Have you ever heard of DECA? It's like a business club in high school. So it's just an international business club. And I met a guy there, and we started a website, social media agency, just like every single body does, right? And we went door to door to restaurants, and we were just going, cold calling. And I probably, not even kidding, called maybe 400 to 500 businesses and people that I could potentially make a website for or control their social media. And I remember we got a meeting scheduled with an Italian restaurant. And I walked in, I was 15 years old, and I barely hit puberty at that point. My voice was really high. And I think he thought I was older over the phone. He 100% thought I was older. So when I walked in, he told me to get out. We convinced him to sit down with us. We walked out with a $5,000 deal. So I think the moral of that story is just persistence with anything you do, right? And it's like, if I never sold that $5,000 deal, what if I would have just quit? What would I have done after that?
It's like my buddy Daniel has a really good banner. I'm not sure if it's his banner still, but on his LinkedIn, it was like a graph, and it's just like dots across, and it says like, this is pointless. And it's like, you're here.
Yeah.
And then there's like a big exponential hit that comes up, right? And so a lot of people, it's kind of like the meme that the guy is like mining for diamonds, and he's like, there's an inch of dirt, and it's like the diamonds are on the other side of it, and he starts walking backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Perseverance and endurance are two things that I want to start to plant seeds of in the audience, like in the content that I'm doing. It's like, hey, you have to really persevere. And in sales, that looks like asking for the business. When they say no, that's when the work actually starts, right? Like Kanye West talks about just like poking the fabric of reality, and how, like, you know, everything around you was built by a human being that's not very much smarter than you. I mean, obviously there are some people that are just in another level, but you can just do things, you know, and it requires a lot of perseverance and endurance. So let's jump back into your situation. So you sold a remote cleaning business.
Correct.
And what I'd like to do is start from here, unpack that, and then we'll go backwards in time.
Okay.
So you sold the business, you started RCI, and then how quickly did it fire up, and who were some of the key players that kind of motivated you? And I know you mentioned your friend who inspired you to do it, or at least encouraged you. What does that beginning of RCI look like?
Yeah.
The first couple months?
Well, I think that the beginning of RCI really stems from one experience I've had, and that was working for my good friend Josh Rivera. Josh, shout out to you.
Shout out, Josh.
At a marketing leads company called Direct to Deals. That's when I really learned sales. I closed on his offer for probably 8 months, made him probably over $1 million. And being on that offer, it taught me a few things that I was lacking in my life previous, was structure, right? Why I went to go work for Josh is because I've always been doing everything by myself, and I've never really learned from anyone in the past. And I knew that in order for me to get to the next level, or for me to be able to actually build something successful, I need to know what a successful operation looks like. So Matt Shields, I don't know if you know Matt, he connected me with Josh. And after I left that offer, I actually started the cleaning business while working on that offer. And then I sold it after. And, you know, like I told you, I went to that Bali time chamber, and that's where I really found like what my calling was. And yeah, RCI started up like around June of last year. But like I said, we didn't really get the ball rolling until about September. And I just decided to go all in. I lived in Charleston, South Carolina at the time, and I rented an office there, had a setter, and we were just banging the phones, running leads, and we scaled pretty quickly. We hit a little over 100K my second full operational month, which was super awesome, and a number that I never even imagined of hitting in my life. And yeah, man, it's been really great, really rewarding. But I know we were talking about this when I first walked in this room. I think that we get so excited as entrepreneurs to make all this money that we don't know how to be financially responsible with it. And we just, right. And I know it's hard to say, and most people won't say the hard things, but I blew a ridiculous amount of money.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the reality, right? It's like you make all this money and it's like awesome. You think it's always going to come in, and then you have a bad month, and then leads aren't as good that month. And then your closer leaves. Sales aren't, nobody's selling. And in our business, if you don't sell, you don't make money.
Yep.
Right.
Timer starts over.
I had a really hard reality check probably about 5 to 6 months ago, where we had a pretty crappy month overall. I had to let go of a closer that I was working with for a long time, and I wasn't selling anymore at that point. And we just didn't have a good month. And I realized like all this euphoria that I feel, right? All this dopamine that I feel, it's so awesome. And then 1 month, everything can go to zero,
Boom.
Crash and burn on you. And you don't actually realize it until it happens to you, and you think it's going to be great forever.
What were you burning money on?
Ads, and I had closers that really couldn't close deals for me, and no shade to them. It's just how it happened. But I also knew I wasn't a good leader.
Mm. Were there any things that you, outside of ads and like business expenses, like what were you spending your money on personally?
Oh, dude, anything, everything. I mean, I did a lot of good things. Like I bought my mom a car.
Nice.
I was spending a lot of money on like my family and investments and other things. But besides the investments, because those were good, I was blowing money on traveling. I bought a $50,000 car. That's actually the only big purchase I actually to this day still love.
Nice.
But I bought myself a car. I'm spending ridiculous amounts of money on eating out. I just got a notification the other day. In the past, like I think it said 6 months, I've saved $2,000 on Uber Eats. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, or maybe it was 12 months. And I thought to myself, I was like, how much money do I need to spend to save $2,000 on Uber Eats? And I was just constantly eating out. And not only was I eating out and picking the cheaper options, I didn't really care.
Appetizers, load them up.
Yeah, appetizers,
double.
4 drinks. Let's get the nicest steak on the menu. Hey, you want that? Let's get it. Who cares,
Yeah,
right?
100%, dude.
And
Yeah.
I think being like a good shepherd with your money and being able to pour it into healthy and good things, that's when you can make do with your money. Because money is just a tool, right? To be able to do the things that you want in life. And yeah, man. So I think that was the biggest thing. And I've never actually spoke about this publicly, but I want to. I got into a really bad gambling addiction. And this is pretty scary for me and vulnerable because I've never talked about it before. But
yeah, let's unpack it. So tell me about that.
yeah, so my gambling addiction, and I actually recently started speaking with a therapist to uncover a lot of this for myself. But when I was 14 years old, my mom was with this guy who's the dad of my little sister, and he was very abusive. He was also a gambling addict. He gambled a lot of our money away. We were broke. And he used to get me involved with him in the gambling with FanDuel. I don't know if you know what FanDuel
No,
is.
yeah, very aware.
And I was 14, 15 years old, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. We could put $20 on the Giants game, build all these parlays. And I fell in love with it. But I was young and I didn't really have that much money at the time. And, it was $10 here, $20 here. And I thought if we were going to do a $100 bet, that's insane. So as I got older and I started making more money, whenever I felt like I needed a dopamine rush, I resorted to gambling. And I was able to lose and walk away for a long time and make it just like a fun hobby. But this is when it got bad. Last November.
It's about a year ago.
So I had open heart surgery when I was a kid. And last November, I was in Nashville with my boys for my 21st birthday. And I started to experience a bunch of heart complications. The bottom right part of my lung also collapsed, and I had to go to the hospital. And I was pretty much out of commission for about 4 months. Like I was having breathing problems. I was having a lot of troubles happen to me. And I just moved to New York City at the time. Okay. So I'm in New York City in this almost $6,000 a month, 1-bedroom apartment. I can't leave the apartment because if I was in the cold, I would like start to shiver and feel like I was going to pass out. So I was just stuck in that apartment and I was looking for dopamine and ways out. So I resorted to gambling and it got really, really bad. I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, unfortunately. And as hard as that is to say, the only way you actually genuinely get over something and become a man and develop is by talking about it and being honest and not sugarcoating. I told my family about this, my sister about it recently, actually, because I realized it's like everyone goes through problems. Everyone goes through hardships in their life. And I'm very thankful that I'm young enough to be able to learn from it now and never do that again. I banned myself on every single sports book. I can't even gamble if I wanted to. But, talking about it was probably the best thing that I could have done for myself, because you create such a burden. You feel this guilt, and no one in my family has money. So it's like, I'm thinking about it, what more I could have done for my family, and the guilt and the shame overtook me for a long time. And something that I realized recently, which is the craziest part about it all, I never cared about winning. And as crazy that is to say, I was looking through my books and the different things, and in the span of probably 4-5 months, I wagered. That doesn't mean I lost it. Probably about 1.3 million bucks between different sports books. That doesn't mean I lost that amount, but there were plenty of times I would win a bunch of money and I never took out. And if I took out, it would be right back in the account the next day or a few hours later. I didn't know how to take a win. And I felt the dopamine of hitting that parlay, of hitting that next thing. And for a while, I only did parlays because I didn't care about I didn't want a 2x. I wanted a 10x. I wanted to go all in go all in. And I remember one day I called my buddy Ethan. I was visiting home and I was like, dude, let's go watch the Giants game at a sports bar. And that was, and I sat there and I was like, I just put like 20K on the Giants game and they were probably like plus 300 or plus 400 to win that game. And he looked at me, he's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, they're going to lose. They ended up losing, of course. What are you doing? And it was never even about the money and the $100, $1,000 bets, $2,000 bets. It wasn't enough for me. Doing it it never was enough. I always wanted to put more and more and more and more and more and more until I really sat back and realized, like, what am I doing? I had a concierge service at MGM sending me $5,000, $10,000 all the time just in my account when I would like not play for a few days because they know that would get me going again.
What do you think it was that you were searching for if it wasn't to win?
I think it was a lot of like internal trauma that I haven't really addressed and faced. And my grandpa, who was my best friend my entire life, died 4 years ago. And right after that happened, I feel like I stopped. Well, I'd never truly processed it. Even to this day, I haven't truly processed his death. And there's like a lot of internal issues that I faced like in my childhood growing up that I never truly faced. And, I moved out of my house when I was 16 and a half years old. I got my sister to co-sign an apartment for me. So I was solo since I was 16 and a half. And it was just like the search for comfort, the search for
to feel something,
to feel happy, to feel excited. And I was just constantly running and chasing and running and chasing and running and chasing. And dude, it's miserable to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
I appreciate you sharing that, man. First of all, like, it takes a lot of balls to be able to.
That was the first time I've ever said that publicly, and I feel honestly I was kind of scared when I started talking. I was like, no, I shouldn't do this. But
yeah,
well, feel better.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. I can think of several people right now that will watch this, and they've been through the same exact thing. And so, I think whenever you move into a position of leadership, like you're running a company now, and people are probably looking up to you, you have to be a steward of how you're leading. And I think one of the best tools is to share your experience. And so some people choose to be private, some people choose to be an open book, and you can make that decision for yourself. But I really applaud you for being willing to share that, man. And I can tell you right now, I never went down the gambling rabbit hole all the way, because I had seen it happen to some other people. But I've had my string of addictions, man. Smoking weed for like 12 years, partying, gambling, doing all the drugs that you can think of. And it is a cope, right? Like, I think for me, it was a lot of the same unprocessed trauma, and we can get into what constitutes trauma. But if you've been through some shit, then you want to numb it, right? And so there's a spectrum of how hard it was or not. But at the end of the day, I think because if you're an entrepreneur type, you're a 0 to 100 type of person, mm-hmm. and you're willing to risk it. And if you're in sales, even before that, you're willing to pay to play and get paid based on your performance. And so it is like, if you're less risk averse, meaning you're willing to risk it, it's a dangerous line to dance on, just because of how quickly it can go south. So what was it that really made you face the music? Like, was there like a draw your line in the sand type of moment? Was it that New York game, or was it just gradual build up and you decided like, I can't go on any longer like this? Like, walk me through the turning point.
So I kept making more and more money, and the best part about being able to realize it like so fast, and well, it was a gradual time, but why I'm so thankful I'm out of it now is because a lot of people that get into these addictions, they do it until they cannot gamble anymore. Then they go to family and friends to try to get money and lie to them about why they need money to gamble and put in the sports books. Then you're going to think you're going to win it all back. And I'm so thankful that I was able to address this issue now in my life, when my business has never been better. I made more money in the last 10 days than I've ever had in an entire month. And I was able to realize it at a point in my life where I could stop it and move on and not have to like struggle and not have to be in the dumps. And obviously it did set me back a lot, right? There's a lot of things that I could have done with hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it was just a gradual increase of lying to myself and saying that I'm not addicted and that, I can stop. But do you know how many times I would ban myself on a sports book, create a new account on another one, ban myself on that one, create another account on a new one, you will always find a way. An addict will always find a way with whatever they're doing. And a lot of people downplay gambling just because it's not meth or it's not, you're an alcoholic, etc. You're always going to find a way, and it's as bad.
If not worse.
It ruins your mood. It makes you the worst version of yourself possible. And that's all you can think about. Dude, I was betting at 3 a.m. on random tennis games and random shit I didn't even know about. Korean baseball.
Yeah. Chinese monkeys.
Anything. Ping pong. Like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what it was. Anything that I can bet on.
Give me something.
Yeah, seriously. That's what it was. And even when I would win, I wouldn't withdraw. And I'm just so thankful and so glad I'm done with that in my life. And like now I'm actually investing very well. My money is being taken care of. I've hired some people recently to just help me, with my finances and be responsible, because that part of me, that Evan, he's dead. Like, that's not a life I want to live ever again. And I'm saying this publicly and owning up to it as a man, because, we're going to go through things, but we need to own up to it, to the people we love, to our friends, to the people that we trust, because real people are going to hold you accountable. They're going to keep you to your word, and they're going to help you. And I choose to look at this as an experience and actually a blessing in my life to know I will never do something like that again.
Yeah, I think it's important just to rationalize it in that way, because this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is like, we're not really rational creatures, or else we would just eat right and we would do the things. We're rationalizing, meaning whatever decision we make, we can rationalize it, right? And so I think that for a lot of people, the first stage of stopping an addiction is becoming aware of it and admitting you have a problem. But that's really the big part that a lot of people get stuck on. They're like, I don't have a problem. I'm good. I could stop. And that's like with smoking weed too, right? It's like everybody's like, weed's not a drug. It's like, okay, buddy. And I said that for so long, right? And it's like, I'm not an addict. I'm not addicted. I just enjoy it and I like it. It's like, well, how do you feel when you don't have it? Do you get antsy, right? And I think in 2023, I was really trying to reinvent myself. And I went through a season of, I had to stop selling weed first off, because I was doing that to kind of, get extra income and things. And that was something I did for a long time. So I wanted to get rid of that. And then I had to stop smoking weed and then stop drinking, just because I didn't want to just numb myself all the time. I'm like, I'm really not happy with where I'm at in my life.
Yeah.
But let's look at my calendar and let's look at my actions. And I definitely didn't have a Google Calendar at that point, or else it would just say smoke weed all day for like 6 hours, right?
And you just brought up a good point, and I want to speak to the audience directly. If you have a problem or an addiction in anything in life, admitting it's not enough. Okay, great. You're addicted to drugs, or you're addicted to weed, or you're addicted to gambling. Just because you admit you have a problem, if you don't do anything about it, nothing will change. You're still going to have that addiction. So a lot of people have that false belief that, okay, if you admit it, and if you tell yourself and you tell people around you maybe that, oh yeah, I'm addicted to this and I have this problem, but you're not willing to put in the work to actually change that for yourself, then it doesn't really matter if you admit it to yourself or not.
Who's coming to save you, man? Nobody.
Nobody's coming to save you.
Nobody, dude. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody is coming to save you. And I just told this to my friend, like literally 30 minutes before we started this podcast. I called him up. I was like, dude, man, no one's coming to save you. So what are we doing? How are we thinking about getting out of our current situation if we're not happy with it, right? And for anybody who is struggling too, I'm so glad we went down this rabbit hole. I have a bunch of friends that used to be in NA, which is like Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah.
By the way, solid fucking program. And if you have any sort of judgments about anybody who does that, then you probably just haven't been exposed to that or know what conniving, cunning devil addiction can be. But I've dealt with addicts in my family my whole life. And I never really went off the deep end, right? But I wanted to support one of my friends who was addicted to pain pills and heroin. And he was basically, 1 or 2 degrees away from just unaliving himself, and he got a hold of himself and he started going to NA, and there's a 12-step program I'll probably get this wrong, but it's something like admitting you have a problem that's unmanageable, like meaning you can't manage it yourself, and then seeking a higher power or a relationship with a higher power to be able to kind of build a structure in place for you to improve. And I think if you're struggling with any of that, man, go get help. I don't care what the cool kids have to say about it, right? Like if your trajectory looks as though you're not going to be here anymore on planet Earth, guess what? It's time to humble up and get some help, So I do want to be a pretty open book about where I've been and what I've been through. And I think that there's a lot of people, man, especially young men, that it's kind of like there's an attack on young men, and that we should be acting this certain way, or we should hush up, or we should, the patriarchy. It's like the patriarchy, right? Like, and again, I don't want to go into this battle because I don't do the political stuff or anything like that. But men are alone. They feel alone. They feel depressed. They feel like they don't have anybody to turn to. And so part of this online space, like part of the reason why I'm doing these conversations, is to just connect, right? And guess what the opposite of addiction is? Connection.
Yeah.
And if you're addicted and you're alone, then go seek out community. Go get into a position where it's more likely for you to have small victories, right? And a lot of times, man, it's like we could look at someone and say, oh, they, if you look at a homeless person, you're like, oh, they probably did something to get there. But it's like they might not have had an environment to even think about what success even remotely looks like, And so part of you being willing to share your story and give back is going to help us kind of raise that tide, So I really appreciate you being willing to dive into that, man.
Absolutely.
With that being said, though, now you're back on track. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There's seasons, and I think that if you're in a season of things doing really well, your revenue's going up, you're making more and more. Now it's about preservation. And so we can talk a little bit about, blowing money and things like that. And that's kind of where we started. I think for those watching, like if you have started to make 10 or 20 grand or 30 grand or 50, 100, 200, 300 grand, it's very uncommon to do that, right? And no one teaches us how to spend money really well. There's a lot of stuff around saving money and, Dave Ramsey, this and that, but like how to spend money really well.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're spending money on currently to help you? And walk me through some of that.
So there's a few things I will not sacrifice in terms of my spending. So number one is, we live in a country where they put all types of chemicals in our food and they don't really actually care about what we, ingest in our bodies. And one thing that traveling has taught me is we need to eat real food. So one thing I will not ever budge on is I will always buy good food, right? I will always shop at places where they're not going to put, Blue 40. By the way, if you eat crumble, stop. 97 ingredients in one cookie. It's cancerous. It's poisonous.
Down with crumble.
Right, it's so good, man. It's so good. I will be so honest. I had my first crumble cookie in like a couple of years, like a month ago. It's good.
Is that a message to yourself?
But it was a guilty pleasure. But really, it's like the chemicals in our food are disgusting. They're genuinely disgusting what they put in our food in the US here. And I challenge you, when you go to the store, bread or crackers should not have 40 ingredients. It should be whatever that product is, maybe with a couple extra things, whatever it is. I loved for a long time. I don't know if you fly Delta or
American, mostly.
American.
Delta.
Oh yeah, American has them too. The Biscoff cookies.
I love those.
Okay, those have. I need you to read the back of them.
Dang it!
I need you to read the back of those Biscoff cookies because I loved them for the longest time. I can't eat them anymore just because it's truly disgusting. So one thing I will always spend my money on is good food. My health overall. So that's something that I consider as good spending. That's investing in yourself. Another way of healthy spending is constantly investing in mentorship programs and coaches, in people to help you. And the reality, as a man, we need to be constantly upgrading our stock value, right? We need to be, and I know that kind of sounds silly, we need to always be growing, because if you're staying stagnant, you're not stagnant, you're actually lowering, right? You're getting worse in life. You're being unproductive. You need to constantly be growing. And my biggest goal in life is to get married and have a family. And that's 100% my biggest goal in life. And in order to do that, you need to be the best version of yourself. You need to be strong, and you need to not only support financially, you need to be able to support emotionally, and you need to be the people that your family looks upon when they need help and even when they don't need help, and knowing that you're there, having that sense of security. So personal development is something that I'll never stop spending money on, but healthy spending is not actually thinking you make the amount of money you make. Put as much money as possible away into investments, into real estate, into whatever that's going to grow your actual wealth, because keeping your money in the bank with inflation only loses you money, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you make $100K in a month, really I only made 20.
Yep.
That's the mindset that I've changed to, because if I only made 20K, I really only have 20K to spend if I needed to spend that much in a month, which nobody should have to spend $20,000 in a month.
Yeah, I think one of the things that my mentor Dickie taught me too is like, as a business, it's pretty cut and dry, but even as an individual contributor, if you're a 1099 sales rep or whatever, thinking about your operating margin, which is basically like your profit after taxes, essentially. And so let's say if you make 30K in a month, right? You're probably going to give, let's say 7 to taxes. And then let's say your expenses are $8,000 a month, right? 8 plus 7, 15. So your operating margin is 50%, meaning you spend 8, you pay 7, and now you keep 15, right? And so I think it's hard to have a 50% operating margin for your own personal setup unless you're making about $30,000 a month. Because if you're at 20 and you have to put 6 away, that's 14, and then you spend $4,000 a month. It's kind of hard to live on $4,000 a month nowadays, depending on your lifestyle. Some people are like,
something that Josh, you know Josh, right? Something that he told me, which I think about all the time, is he said, dude, if you're going to spend over 5K, he said, I want you to call me. And I was like, all right, bro, what else? What else can I do besides call you if I want to spend over 5K? He said, he told me about an experience where he really wanted these boots. I think they were boots. He really wanted these boots, and he went to the store, and they were like $400 or $500. And he was like, okay, I really want these boots, but am I really going to want them tomorrow? So I'm going to leave right now. And if 24 hours goes by and I still want those boots, I'll come back and get them. 24 hours later, he did not want those boots anymore. So that story he actually told me, that's something I think about all the time, is when I do make big purchases, and this is something that's maybe started within the last 4 or 5 months. When I do make sizable purchases on anything, I genuinely do take time to actually process them, unless it's an investment in my business. That I really don't think about, just because if I know it's going to better me, it's going to better my business, it's going to better my clients, the people that we're fulfilling, I won't really think about that. I take action on that. But when it comes to actual personal spending, I really try to take time and use that advice that Josh gave me to really justify my purchases.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, man. Like with healthy eating and business mentorships, we can dive a little bit into that. Are you familiar with Nicholas Verge?
No, I don't think so, no.
He's a really awesome guy, and he has a great Trump impression. He lives here. He's a great marketer. Him and I just went half and half on a cow. And
where, like, are you just
some farm around here? I'm not sure. He's going to get a deep freezer and load it up. And he's like, he put it in one of these group chats that I'm in, and he's like, does anybody want to go half on a cow with me? And I'm like, you know what? That sounds like a good investment for me. So definitely trying to get on the healthy eating wave. Now with business mentorships, a lot of people that are watching this have probably invested into something at least. Maybe you're on the fence that you never invested in anything. I probably spent anywhere from $80,000 or so to maybe 100, probably a little bit less than 100K on my self-development. And I've done that. Some were great, some were not so great, some were not great at all and really regrettable. But overall, it's been the single biggest contributing factor as to why I'm here. And I'm a firm believer in paying down your ignorance tax. There's something to be said about executing whenever it's like, maybe you don't need another coaching program, bro. Maybe you just need to go do the damn thing that you said you were going to do. Right. So sometimes what if we got addicted into investing into coaching, so
that's true. People buying mentorships, not actually taking action.
Yeah. So make sure you're doing the things, but what are some of the, sizable and awesome investments that you made into yourself? And if you want to give anybody props, feel free to do that. But like, what are some of the big ones that really helped you kind of invest into that S&Me 500?
So I think that the best investment I ever made, and this is weird because I didn't actually give any money, I made money, was putting my ego to the side and going to work for Josh. And that was the best investment I could have made in myself, because I learned sales. And I'll tell you this right now, why I have so much comfort in taking risks and being very risk averse, like in the things that I do, is if I were to lose it all tomorrow, I can make it back, right? And there has been many times throughout the journey I have lost it all, and that's part of the game and that's part of what we do. But if you know sales, you can make a lot of money and you can always figure it out. And here's what I will tell you. If you're running an offer and you're closing and you're doing something that you have full conviction in, changing your mindset to before you get on that call, if genuinely in my heart, I believe I can help this person succeed and I can help this person get out of their current situation, I have so much conviction in this that I am doing them a disservice if they don't actually join the program or whatever I'm selling them. Because myself as a salesperson, I have so much conviction that I can help you and I can help you out of your situation. I can help you quit your job. I can help you be able to take care of your kids. So changing your mindset to being able to know that, wow, if I let this person off, I'm sorry.
What are
I
some of the
apologize to you, right?
what are some of the ways that you make sure that you can have conviction in what you're selling?
So it comes from two aspects, right? So me being a business owner, I have conviction because I sold the business and I know what it can do for people, right? Now let's think about it from a closer's perspective, because I was a closer before. So there's two ways to genuinely build conviction. Okay. As hard as it is to say, there's fake conviction, there's no conviction.
Yep.
Fake conviction is your boss, your manager telling you only the good things and you not actually knowing about all the crap that goes on and the people that don't succeed. And maybe your offer really does suck, but your sales manager will never tell you that, right? You're only going to see the wins. You're only going to see the good things. So that's, I would say, is fake conviction. Or maybe you genuinely know your offer is shit and you have to pretend on that call that you have the conviction, right? Real conviction is understanding your client's results, talking to your clients, and maybe even trying to do the business yourself or trying to do whatever you're selling yourself and see if it works. If you try to do whatever it is and you succeed in it or you can see the success in it, boom, you've just built ultimate conviction. My coaches in my program, this is something that I've never heard of an offer really doing. Everybody that's a coach at RCI has came on as a student and built a remote cleaning business.
Dude, that's the best thing in the world. I think, by the way, you're on fire with this.
Also, one of my last closers left because he wanted to go start this business.
There we go. That's how you know you're doing something right. So I, for the last 2 years, up until I started my agency this year and got into management full time, I was closing for Dickie, who I mentioned a few times already, and a guy named Nicholas Cole. And we had a program called the Premium Ghostwriting Academy. Mm-hmm. And I told them, it's so funny, dude. I told them, I met them in Miami and we were at the WeWork in Wynwood. Okay. And we had sat down and they're like, hey man, so how do you feel? It was like about a month into us working together and I had already started to close some deals and they were like, okay, you got that dog in you. Like we really want to make sure we have a good trajectory here and that you feel fairly compensated and blah, blah, blah. And I had told them when I got on, I was like, look, the company that I worked for before, which they did like Amazon FBA, like not the good kind either, like the automated Amazon store, the worst thing, complete. Maybe they had good intentions, maybe they didn't. It was a complete shit show. And I quit. And I was like, I'm not going to continue carrying this blood on my hands. Like, I'm not going to do it. Because I went in and poked around in the fulfillment. And I was in that previous offer.
You didn't feel the conviction?
No. In the previous offer that before I started working with PGA, there was support tickets coming in from the clients and this and that. And I had closed somebody. Mm-hmm. And then I had seen all these support tickets coming in. And then like probably 90 days later, one of my first enrollments ever into the program was like, yo, dude, nothing's on time. Nothing's happening. Where's everybody at? Blah, blah, blah. And I went and put in the Slack channel. I was like, hey, someone needs to tell me what the fuck is going on. Mm-hmm. And I tagged the founder of the company and everybody's like, do the chain of command thing, whatever. I'm like, no, fucking at the founder's name. I'm not going to say his name, but I was like, tell me what the fuck is happening with John. Yeah. Like, he doesn't say he has a store, like, nothing's going right. What's happening? And the founder calls me and he's like, dude, we got it under control, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, man, if you guys can't prove to me that we're doing all the right things, then I'm not going to represent this company. Of course. So I'm out.
Because at the end of the day, that's your name.
Yep.
And that's all you got.
And like so many people, unfortunately, are on offers that are built like people can become really good at marketing and then really good at sales. But fulfillment's the guy who gets left behind, And so I, as a rep, told myself I'd rather go broke. And in fact, I did go broke because I didn't get a job for another couple months. And I really got up shit creek and I was getting into pretty decent sized credit card debt, just refusing to settle on my morals. Yeah. But if you're a closer on an offer that even smells like low conviction, just go ask all the clients, man. Book a 15-minute call with the students of the program and see what the fuck is up. And
what percentage of offers do you think, if you were to guess, stay around for more than a year?
Oh, none. Like none, bro. Like seriously, think about this. There's waves in the info space. If you go back to 2020 and 2021, you look at all the names that were at the top of the leaderboard, they don't exist, And so, if I had to guess, I would say probably less than 10% for sure.
Yeah. Like I genuinely speaking, besides myself, I can count on one hand how many people I know that have been running the same successful offer for more than a year.
Or switch up their offer, right? When I got hired at PGA, I told him, I was like, look, man, I'm going to be the most skeptical person. But if you can prove to me that we're actually getting real rock star results for the clients, I'll stab somebody for you. Yeah. And so we did just that. And a couple things that you mentioned, like going to do the thing yourself, having chats with the clients, right? So I started doing that. I would close somebody, and I had my head of operations set up a 14-day check-in message that would automatically come from me from Slack. And it would say, hey, curious to hear where you're at on your journey. Have you been accomplishing all the tasks? How's it been so far? And everybody's just like, and it would happen automatically. So I'd just wake up and ding, 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 ding.
And you would get all that.
Everybody's doing that. Another thing you can do is go and actually figure out the client wins channel and have one of your support specialists or the head of confirmation, or however your sales team is structured. Even as a rep, you can do this. You don't have to own the business, but you can think like an owner and go and get somebody to pull the client wins from the wins channel and put it in the sales channel, so you can get it, first and foremost.
Like that.
And I did the business. They helped people build lead magnets, like email courses. They basically help people create 5-day lead magnets to sell it for $5,000. And I went and did that. I built a few lead magnets for my friend. I enrolled my roommate into the program, and he ended up quitting his job at Walmart to actually start doing the thing.
That's ultimate conviction.
Yeah, man.
Someone your friend into something that you're doing.
Yeah. Well, my 2 rules for sales, if I'm going to sell it, here's the rule. I have to either be willing to buy it myself, or I would sell it to my mom. That's the rule. If I wouldn't sell it to my mom, like let's say she was interested in cleaning business, right? Like if I wouldn't take her money, I'm not going to take anybody's money.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of like my proxy. And I think when I'm as I'm building my content and helping people with the skill set side of things, it's actually not as much about the skill set for me as it is just being convicted on what you sell. You know how, like, if you ever have someone who like loves Chipotle, or they love a certain pair of jeans, or they love a certain city, they're like, dude, you gotta come here, you gotta do it, right? And you just believe them because they believe it. So ultimate conviction is going to shine through. And
you're right. Yeah. If someone can sense if you don't believe in it, or, you hit the nail on the head with that one.
And like, I never had the best objection handle reframes, the craziest Jedi, wife objection. I just believe, and I would just stomp them with conviction. And it's like, I did it. My roommate did it. You can do it. I know you can. And I would feel like I did you a disservice if I don't enroll you, or at least make a major case for you on enrolling.
And I think that's where also, like, and I'm not trying to get political here, a morality standpoint, to me, and I'm not even trying to talk about religion here, but I think that if someone doesn't actually believe in at least a higher power or some God or whatever, then where are they actually getting their morality standpoint? From society? Because if you don't believe in God, and you don't believe in, I don't want to say a set of rules, but a set of moralities and what's right and what's wrong, how do you actually know what's right and what's wrong? Society? If you're going based off of society telling you what's right and wrong, all the news channels, you're fucked.
Yeah.
It's like, I've thought about that for a while, and it's like, to be honest with you, I don't know exactly what I believe. I 100% believe in God. That's 100%. I've been going to church for a long time. I grew up Jewish, but the conclusion that I've made throughout all my trials, my faith, is that the one thing that stands consistent is believing in God and understanding the morality standpoint. And coming from just being a closer and in sales, it's like, if you have actual morals, you won't take someone's money that you genuinely believe won't succeed in what you're selling.
Yeah, man. And I think there's a lot we can unpack there. I think God is real, and I consider myself a Christian. And whether you fall on that side of the coin or this or that, I tend to have more of an open mind, and I love creating a dialogue between people that I don't agree with, right? But you make a good point with like your moral code. If we think about like Western civilization, most of our moral code comes from the Bible, and that's kind of like the book that our culture is built on top of. And if you don't have that set of morals, I don't know if it's going to be so long-term for you, and I think some of these people in sales and that build businesses, they don't have that, and you can kind of see it, so you got to be careful. You really have to be careful. And I understand why the skepticism goes up in the marketplace, whether you're buying a coaching program or representing one or selling one. Be skeptical, man.
And you also have to understand too, is when you get into business and you get into spaces when you work with people, because reality is you make money with other people. You can't make money by yourself, right? And realizing is your relationship with your boss, with your coworkers, is it actually transactional? Do they care about you? What's that relationship look like? If you had a bad week, are they still going to appreciate you the same when you have a good week, right? Do they still believe in you enough that they're going to keep you around and they're going to invest their time into you, and they're not only going to be nice to you and compliment you and say the good things and help you when you're on top. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? But I realize as being in the online space, there's a lot of transactional people. And unless you're bringing value to them, they don't care about you. Which, from one perspective, I understand because, I'm a busy guy. You're a busy guy. Business is business. Like, if you're not benefiting me, what is the point of this? True. I personally agree. But it depends on the context. If someone DMs you on Instagram and they're not really valuable to you, yeah, you could be nice. You can answer them. I would hope that you would answer them. But if you're getting hundreds of DMs, it's going to be hard to do that, right? But if you hire someone in your company to work on your goals, on your future vision, you better invest your time into them and you better truly believe in them if you're going to bring them on. And that can't be just transactional, right?
And if you're doing that from the standpoint of like bottom up, if you're going to build a team, or if you're going to join a team and build your skills and your career, which, like you said, what you did with Josh, like you're getting that stepping stone into entrepreneurship. And, for what it's worth, everybody that's watching this is probably on that spectrum. It goes sales rep, sales leader, sales manager, CEO, founder, kind of in that order, or something like that. If you're going to be a part of a team, culture is big. And the people that make 20, 30, 40 grand a month, it's typically because there's a few ingredients. Number one, it's a good offer. Number two, it's good culture. Number three, they actually have reasons to win. Mm-hmm. And one of my buddies, Casper, he talks a lot about this. He's talking about leading teams from a place of culture instead of just KPIs and spreadsheets. And I think that one of the biggest things that you can do as a manager, in leadership, as a founder, is spend time on your people, right? Like I just had a one-on-one with one of my closers, and he's going through some things with his partner. And it's like, first of all, man, how are you feeling? Scale of 1 to 10. Oh, well, to be honest, man, this thing exploded yesterday. My girl, this and this and that. It's like, okay, well, let's not talk about your close rate. Okay. Let's just put that to the side. Let's talk about
you and your problems.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I have so many people that are loyal to me. And so even if I left the team that I'm currently managing, my guys would follow me because I care about them and I really am invested into them. And so I think luckily for me, by nature, I just care about people, and that has served me really well. But even if you don't, it makes sense to try and do so. So even if you don't have the best EQ or like emotional intelligence or whatever, and you're kind of more like an analytical type A, try to lean into and put yourself out of your comfort zone and ask people about their own fucking personal lives, because it'll go a lot further than whether they're, doing well or not on the metrics.
Yeah, I was talking to this one guy that I personally mentor the other day, and obviously he runs a remote cleaning business. And when I was talking to him, I said, I want you to think about this. Cleaning is a very hard job, right? And your cleaners that are going out all day, whether they're doing homes or commercial spots or, whatever it is, they're going to be tired. They're going to have a rough day. But when they come home and they speak to their families about their day, how are they talking about it? Are they saying, the work was really, really hard, but I love the people I work for. They care for me. They treat me well. And I know I'm doing good. And I really love and enjoy working for them. Or are they coming home and saying to their husband or wife, whatever, babe, this is so hard. And the people that I work with are assholes. They don't care about me. I'm just another number to them. How are you talking to your family at the dinner table at night about the company that you work with? And that's something that I really installed internally in my business, and then in my students' businesses as well, is building a community. And would your cleaner refer you to someone else that is looking for a job to clean homes, right? Would they refer you? If the answer is no, then you got an issue. You got a problem. They're just another number to you. Actually caring about them, because, if you have thousands of employees, the reality is, from the CEO and from the top perspective, you can care about everyone, but the reality is everyone is just a number, right? From a major perspective. But in each part of business, in each sector, there should be different levels of management, and everyone in that company is cared for. So the CEO can overlook and, love everyone from a distance, but obviously the CEO probably can't build a personal relationship with all of his thousands of employees, right? But you need to create that foundation, that structure where that person working for that company feels appreciated and wants to keep working there. And one of my virtual assistants, her name is Jewel. Shout out, Jewel. I know you're watching this. Jewel, she is one of the greatest people in the world. She's been with me since day one. And it's crazy. When I first hired her, RCI was just kind of starting up, and I immediately fired her. And I brought her back maybe a couple months later, and she's been with me throughout the entire process. And she's my head of tech. She does the websites. She does all the tech stuff for everyone. And she actually told me this maybe a couple months ago that and I've been she makes really good money with me now. When she started, she didn't make great money, but she's also in the Philippines, and $500 a month there, that's pretty good. Like, you're living pretty decent. Right now she makes over $2,000 a month with me, which for a virtual assistant is really good. And I constantly give her bonuses. I just hired her brother as well to add more to the family, but $2,500 in the Philippines, you're living a good life, right? And she told me that not anymore, because now I pay her more than that, but back in like January or sometime, she actually had a job offer for a lot more money. She never told me about it, but she never took the job. And she just recently told me that is because she told me, Evan, I love working with you so much. I believe in the vision of RCI. You have such a great work environment, and I genuinely enjoy my job, and I trust her, and she trusts me. She won't ever leave.
Man, and that goes to say, like, that comes from the culture, like, if you have someone on your team that is willing to deny a promotion from a salary perspective, you're doing something right in the environment, man. So shout out to you.
Finding good people is extremely difficult.
Yeah, man. Talent is everything. Humans are everything, right? Like, to find a really good closer who cares, who has initiative, who has productivity, XYZ, 1, 2, 3, it's really difficult. So when you get that person, hang on to them. I want to shout out my VA as well, Trina. She's a freaking legend, man. And she was with me at the company that I worked for before, and we've contracted her to do some stuff within my current offer, and she's a rock star. I mean, an absolute rock star. She texted me the other day and she goes, yeah, we're getting hit by this type 5 earthquake, and it's off the charts, but I'm still gonna log in and post a leaderboard. And I'm like,
there you go,
you're undeniable. Like, you are ridiculous. Like, I think that,
no, go take a break. Go.
How about we just be safe, but she's an absolute legend. So I just want to give her props too. It's people, man. That's what runs businesses, especially in the info and the coaching space. Like, we're not doing some sort of hardware or software, or, I'm sure we're leveraging up plenty of technology, but humans are the thing at the end of the day. And I've been listening to Good to Great, and it talks about this idea of like level 5 leadership, and how like all the best companies that stood the test of time and made it past just the crashes and the recessions and all the things, they had level 5 leaders. And in their speeches, the leaders of these companies would use less I statements and more statements like we and of the company. And they have a mission that's greater and beyond themselves, right? So to take it back to what you're trying to accomplish, I'm sure it sounds like you've got an awesome culture, and you guys are scaling, you guys are doing a lot of things. Let's talk about how you set your students up for success, right? And obviously, the business, you actually did the business, you sold the business, then you started coaching. But whenever you're setting up and enrolling somebody, what are you putting in place to make sure that they succeed?
So that's a great question. And a lot of it has been evolved throughout time. So, we take notes of like, if things aren't in the program that should be, if students struggling with something, we put it in the program, and I think that the biggest factor and the biggest key to success is when I built RCI, I asked myself a question, because I've been in multiple mentorship programs, and I personally don't know a mentorship program that has more than like a 30% success rate. I just don't know them, and they don't really exist. Could be on the program sometimes, but also most of the time it's on the individuals. Right?
Agreed.
Not actually putting in the work.
Agreed.
But sometimes it is on the program. And I came to a conclusion that people quit when they're confused and they don't have help. So there's 2 reasons people quit. Either A, you're lazy and you don't want to put in the work. I genuinely believe that there are people that don't have what it takes, though, to be a business owner. I know it's hard to say sometimes, but it's true. Some people don't have what it takes. So if that's not the answer, the only other answer of why people fail, I genuinely believe, if they really want it, is if they are confused and they don't have help, right? It's very easy to throw in the towel. It's very easy to quit. So I asked myself a question: how do I ensure that when people go through my program that they don't quit? And I created something called an inner circle, which I don't know if you've heard of. I actually learned it from Brandon. And every student has their own inner circle. And one thing is, I'm in every single student's inner circle. And no matter how big we grow, and I'm not constantly answering everyone, they have their own coaches, but I'm present and I'm there. That if I'm needed, I will answer that day. And in our inner circles, also our head of tech, Jewel. So if the students have any questions about the business, they have me and they have a coach. Plus they have tech with any tech questions that they have. They don't need to run to the softwares for support. We have it internally at RCI. So the only way to fail at RCI is if you genuinely just quit on yourself. And I also have multiple group calls. I've probably have 4 to 5 group calls a week. I personally lead about one of them. Then I have coaches lead other group calls. I have tech calls. I have guest speakers come on. So creating an environment and also a community. Everyone that joined my program, there's so many people that have came before them that have succeeded and made a bunch of money. So in the beginning, it was obviously proof of concept, right? I wanted to see if it works out. I wanted to see if people succeeded. But now we have so many testimonials and case studies and an open wins channel where everyone in the program can see everyone's results and what they're doing in their business. And if they just landed a big deal and if they did 50K last month, then it's a very encouraging space. So it comes down to 2 things: solidifying your program in making sure it actually works by having people go through it. And B is setting proper expectations.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. And expectations is huge. And this is why I've been in business since last June. I've gone 1 dispute. And the only person I've ever gotten a dispute from actually went through my entire program too. So pretty wild, which if you're in the info space, disputes are one of the biggest things that kill businesses.
Can't please everybody. How many? So you said 1 dispute out of 150 plus?
Yeah. I've gone
That's a pretty good
1 dispute. I have given 2 partial refunds total. That's it in the entire time. Because I wanted to create a program where if someone genuinely fails, they say, like, I've had people fail, obviously, and they've told me, Evan, it's not you, it's not the program, it's me, and that's what I wanted to create. Unfortunately, it sucks. Our job is to provide something where everyone can succeed, but setting expectations is proper. Before they can even pay to join RCI, there's no sign up link. You have to get on a call with the closer. There's no just here's a link, sign up. We tell them multiple times during the call that if you don't put in the work, you won't succeed. This is not a get rich quick scheme. We ask them multiple times, how serious about this? How serious are you about this? How many hours are you going to be able to dedicate on this a week? Will you quit under any circumstance? We go hard on them. There's been multiple times I've denied people of joining RCI because I didn't feel like they'd be a good culture fit. Also, it only takes one person to ruin your entire community. It only takes one person. And I know some of you that are going to be watching this are thinking of one exact example, but it only takes one person to genuinely ruin an entire offer. They come in with negativity. They come in with bad energy. Also, a lot of RCI is referrals, which is awesome because that gives me ultimate conviction, knowing that people refer their friends.
What would you say is the percentage of people that come from referrals?
Probably 60%.
More than half.
More than half come from referrals.
Do you have anything like NPS tracking set up?
I have like some systems set up, like in terms of like actually tracking referrals and different things. But my main referrals, actually, it's like I have one lady who brings me a lot of people just because she's the queen of networking. Her name is Ellie Baxter.
Ellie.
Shout out to you, Ellie. And she had so much success in her remote cleaning business. And she's like, I want to tell all my friends about it.
That's how you know you have a good program. So
I want to tell all my friends about it. I've had probably, I would say, 15 students refer me someone.
Well, if you look at NPS scores and how you measure success rate, it depends on how you define success rate. So did they land a paid client in X amount of time? Did they make their money back in X amount of time, right? There's a few different ways to measure it. And like you said, like 30%, 40% is actually like a stellar success rate.
Yeah.
A lot of people want it to be 100, but it's like, how many people build a business that succeeds? 1 to 10%, right? So if we can triple the odds, it's certainly worth the investment, right? But when you think about NPS scores, it's basically you ask them 14, 28, 40 days through the program, like how likely they are to refer somebody.
Oh,
and
okay.
if it's above 7 out of 10, if it's 8, 9, or 10 out of 10, they're likely to refer someone. That means they're a promoter, which sounds like you've got a lot, which is a good indication of doubling down. Or a detractor, meaning it's like, how likely are you to recommend this to a friend? 5 out of 10, 4 out of 10, they're a detractor. So you do your promoters minus your detractors, and you come up with a score that's 100 to negative 100. Mm-hmm. And like a really, really good NPS score is like 70. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely recommend.
I've actually never even heard of that.
Yeah. Put it in place. Then you'll have the NPS scores, and you can say, 8 out of 10 people tell their friend to join, which is a really good thing, So a lot of things that I think about too lately are like compliance, where expectation setting on the sales call is really, really important. And what's funny about all these what's funny about all these Instagram gurus is they're all selling uncompliantly. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that means, right? Like if you make an earnings claim to somebody, it's against the law.
Yeah.
Knock, knock. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It's illegal to tell someone that they'll make 10K a month. Now, there's plenty of ways to get around it, but I always try to help my closers seed through the call. There are no guarantees. There is a chance that you'll fail. This is heavily dependent on you. So how could we guarantee it? It's impossible.
Guarantees, like you said, I've never offered one guarantee. And if someone asks me if there's a guarantee, absolutely not. Whatever you put into this is what you're going to get out of it. And with the guarantee model, if you're joining a program that has a guarantee, read the fine print. For the love of God, read the fine print, because a lot of offers, their guarantees, it's like, okay, make X amount of money in X amount of days, and if you don't, we'll refund you all your money. But in that fine print, you have to attend every single call. You have to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. And if you're missing one thing, you don't qualify for the guarantee anymore. So I think having enough conviction is, if someone genuinely needs a guarantee to join your program, they're not the right fit, because part of it is risk and belief. And what I tell people that come into my program or decide to, sign up or even hire me one-on-one as a mentor is, I'll bring up a recent example. I started a new offer within my offer of helping my current students that have already scale even further. So I was on the phone with someone the other day, and obviously these people have trust for me already because they built a business in my program, right? So that of course helps. Something that I told them, I said, listen, man, I'm not going to be able to itemize everything I'm going to do for you. I can't tell you right now, XYZ, everything that we're going to do, because I don't know everything we're going to do. That's where you have to trust me in my experience and what I'm offering and what I'm bringing to the table. And if you decide to do this with me, you have to go all in, and you're taking a risk no matter what you do. It can go really bad and it can go really good. And he's really happy right now. But the reality is there's always the other end of the spectrum, right? That it could go really bad. You could join that program and it could be the worst decision of your life, or it could be the best, but you don't know until you do it. And I've joined, and I know you said you've had bad experiences. I've had bad experiences. If you let the bad experiences alter your future decision-making process, you're never going to be able to actually take action and do anything good for yourself, right? Because, there are bad players in the space, but there's also good players in the space. So part of it is just that belief and that trust and making an educated risk, right? Mm-hmm. You could take stupid risks, but they can also be educated risks. So there is no I'm sure you've gotten on calls with people and they're like, well, I need this. How do I know that you're going to do this for me? How do I know? I don't know. I don't know if you're going to succeed. That's where you have to have faith. Oh, so you just want me to spend $10,000 right now just to believe? Do you believe this works?
Kind of.
Do you believe this works?
It's for anybody out there who's on the fence of buying something and investing into themselves, and you've probably been there, done that. It's like, I think teachers need to be, the reason that teachers have a fiduciary duty and they have to be even better of a steward of how they represent themselves is because people are watching and people want to trust you, and you have to hold yourself to a higher standard, mm-hmm. right? And so if you're on the fence and you're looking at a program, go look at the results. Do they have an overwhelming amount of evidence? If they don't, question that, right?
And look them up.
Yeah. And I think that the idea though is that not everybody's going to succeed, mm-hmm. And there's plenty of ways to justify making it, and there's plenty of ways to justify not doing some sort of investment, right? And I think what I used to tell people on a call is whether you look for reasons to do this or to not do this, you'll find them, right? And so really getting that buy-in from the beginning is so important. And I think as a closer, you got to start setting expectations. Stop selling with these false promises. First of all,
and you're going to get disputes. You're going to get that money taken away from you anyway.
Yeah, and if someone wants a refund in our program, we're just going to give it to them.
Yeah,
we'd rather not have any sort of bad blood out there and things like that. So on the closing standpoint, I'm really trying to make sure that we only enroll people that are 2 feet in, and if they're not there, then don't sell them. As closers, sometimes we want to get the sale, things like that, but you should always ask yourself, am I genuinely going to help this person, and are they going to succeed? Now, that doesn't mean disqualifying them if they're not all the way there yet, but you have to build them into the person that can take that action. And how much is your program?
So I have 2 internal offers, but my main program is $8,000.
Okay. So it's if this person is willing to invest $8,000, they can easily make that back. I'm not going to say easy, but very simply make that back just by following the guidelines, right? But just because you invest $8,000 into a program doesn't mean you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
Is going to give you everything so that you have
to succeed.
It's going to give you everything like a yellow brick road so you can walk it and not fall into all these big potholes, but you still have to do the work, And so for everybody out there that's bought something and didn't succeed, it's well, how much of that was on the business owner? Yeah. How much of that was on you? What could you have done differently to set yourself up for success? Did other people in that program succeed? Yeah. Do you really think you gave it all? Right? Ask yourself these questions if you're sitting there after buying into something and you're not actually doing it, right? Because you can buy all the coaching programs in the world.
Yeah.
It's not going to help you if you don't do the work.
And it's funny you say that. I got on a call on the other day with one of my students, and he's super happy. He's newer, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm trying this and it's not working. And I was like, okay. And I'm not someone, if someone genuinely needs help, I'll get on a call with them. I want to help them. I want to help them succeed. And I asked him the question. I was like, okay, let's break this down. What are you actually doing to succeed? Okay. Are you calling your leads right away? Are you, are you attending networking events? Are you doing everything you possibly can to get clients? No. Okay, so let's come up with a plan of action. And in a week from today, I want to set up a call, and I need you to promise me you're going to implement all these plans of action we're talking about today. And if you still don't get a client, then we can talk about other solutions. He's booked 3 cleans. So are you really putting in the work is the question, or are you building a false reality in your head that you're putting in the work? And some people say, oh, I don't have time. I'm busy. I'm this, I'm that. If you want to make it work, you will. If you care about it enough, you're going to make it work. And if you keep the reason that you're doing this, right? Making money is just a tool. Why do you want to make money? Understanding, your goals in life. If you keep that in the back of your mind, you're never going to quit. You're going to do everything in your power to succeed, right? If your kids are your driving factor, if you quit, you're not only quitting on yourself, you're quitting on your family, you're quitting on your kids. So if you have that belief and that mindset, you're going to find the time. I have students that are single moms. They work all day, every day, and they still make it work. I have students that are in the military that can't even access their phones from 9 to 5 every single day because they work in an office in a military base, and they still make it work. They figure it out, right? If you want to make it work, you will.
Yeah, I think you're super right about that. And I would add on to that, though, your responsibility as a coaching program should give people, like you said, they quit when they're confused, right? Meet them where they're at and help them suspend those beliefs. Because if someone thinks that way, they probably haven't been sat down and shaken, or they probably haven't been sat down and educated on why there's a different belief system. And so a lot of times what I've done on sales calls and what I've done within the programs that I've been blessed to work with is that I'm all the time checking limiting beliefs, right? You either have to tie down something that they say, meaning like double down on, do you actually mean that? Or challenge them. It's like people in my program always say like, oh, the market, talking about like job markets. Oh, the market's been terrible. It's like, well, somebody's getting these jobs, right?
Yeah.
It's just not you.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to be a little bit direct. And it's like, well, somebody's getting these jobs. And by the way, we're getting about an offer a day. So is it the market, or is it the way that we're showing up in the market, right? And taking ownership of that. But had we not walked them through it, I don't think it's unreasonable for them to think that. So no one's just sat them down and checked their beliefs. And so a lot of
meet them where they're at.
Yeah, you got to meet them where they're at, man. So I always tell my closers, they're like, oh, he didn't show up and he didn't have the time. It's like, motherfucker, you got to get him to understand that he has the time.
Yeah.
That's on us,
Yeah.
right? Don't disqualify somebody because they tell me you don't have the time. Let's talk about the time. What do you mean by that? Is it that you don't have like 24 hours in a day? Or is it that you're dealing with something and you're going out of town next week for a month, right? Some of these things are legitimate, right? But let's walk through them and help them break those limiting beliefs, because everyone has the same 24 hours. And I just think that I have conviction in people. And I believe that 99% of people are good people. And that might be a controversial statement nowadays. But I always want to meet people where they're at. And I don't ever assume malice. I always assume ignorance. Meaning like if someone doesn't text me back and I'm trying to close them, I'm not going to say, fuck, man, they're ignoring me. They're a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. It's like maybe they just got busy, Maybe they actually forgot, and you need to remind them that you exist again because we're just busy, right? And so whether you're a closer or you're a buyer of a program or you're an operator, owner, founder, make sure that you're leaving trails of opportunities to build these beliefs, right? And we can build someone into a buyer.
Yeah.
And I think that we're doing them a disservice if we don't.
Yeah.
And oh God, I could talk about something.
It's really funny. So I'm hosting my first ever mastermind in Joshua Tree at the end of January with my sister, who's a yoga teacher.
Sick.
And we're basically teaching people in the wellness space how to build coaching programs, right? She's the yoga girl. I'm the coaching person. So we're teaching people how to build a coaching program. And I'm so used to a certain way of sales, right? So when you're selling people into a mastermind, it's actually very different because it's actually somewhat the same, but it's very different in the sense of like people actually needed to book a flight. They need to figure out their schedule. They need to go to this place, right? And be present for this. We're doing a 4-night retreat, okay? Mastermind. And I'm so used to like, okay, if I believe that someone is a good fit for my program and I believe that they can succeed in this, I know that I have to get them to commit on that call, because if they don't, they can let their fear overcome them. They can get off the call and not do it, right? And with my conviction, I don't want people to do that for their own sake. And we were on the phone with this woman yesterday, wanted to sign up for our mastermind, and she signed up for our mastermind, but we had a really awesome conversation, and it didn't feel like sales at all. It was just a conversation and really asking her like why she thinks that this is a good fit for her, like why she wants to attend something like this. And I'm so used to collecting payment on call and like getting a commitment. And we set up a payment plan for her. And when we went to go get the deposit, I was ready to take it on the call. She agreed to the terms. I was ready to go take it on the call. And my sister goes, all right, awesome. So I'll go ahead and just text you my Zelle. Like I'll text you my email and you could just text me once you sent it over. And we got off the call and I called my sister and I'm like, dude, we have to get them to commit. We need some form of commitment on the call, right? And she told me, she was like, Evan, if someone doesn't want to come to this, they're not going to come to this. Trust. If she genuinely believes that this is going to be a good fit for her and she wants to take that investment in herself, she's going to do it. She's going to pay. And she ended up paying. But the whole point, it made me take a step back and realize, like, that's true. If somebody wants it bad enough, they're going to do it. You can't force someone to do something that they don't want to do.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize there's different types of buyers. And part of going through this industry for the last 4 years is I've went from like a B2C biz opportunity offer to a more B2B thing. I've done some different B2B stuff. And now I'm talking to these really like high level people that are making $500,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And the lady gets on one of the closing calls with my guys. And at the end, he's trying to get a deposit. And she's like, listen, no amount of trust me, bro, is going to make you pay me right now. And she needed more clarity on one of the pillars of our program and how our coaches are qualified and stuff. And I just told him, I was like, look, you're not going to be able to beat someone into the 2.0 version of themselves right there at the end of the call. Like, we're not selling to obese people that need to lose weight or they're going to die, right? Like, we're selling to executives. And so a lot of high ticket people think that it's always going to be a one call close, when in fact, we're doing north of 500K a month.
Is that your demographic, like executives?
Yeah, tech people that are, let's say they're at PayPal and they're making 500K, but they want to go to work at Tesla and make $1 million. That's who we help. And it's like, most of our calls are 2-call closes. Like only 20% of our calls out of the last 500 calls are 1-call closes. And it's like,
what percentage of PIFs,
probably a quarter.
Quarter?
Yeah, even though they have the money, that's a different thing, which is like, we're not asking for the sale paid in front. We just get weak and we ask for the payment plan when it's not actually helpful for those. So 20% of 1-call closes. And by the way, in sales, I'm a firm believer in taking the commitment on the call, like 100%. And you should do it, and you should never pussy out to help the person if it means not letting fear get in the way and helping them make that commitment on the call. But the high ticket sales industry's got it fucked up. Like, do you know how many sales, like the whole sales space overall, probably 2% of all sales made are 1-call closes. Yeah. Right? Like, you think there's so many different types, like medical sales. You think they walk in and bring the fucking Pursuit of Happiness, like bone density scanner, and they're like, I'll do it right now. It doesn't work that way. And I want to remind people that just because you don't get a commitment on a call doesn't mean you can't close them. It's just like, you got to know your buyer. You got to know who you're talking to, right?
And so stop focusing so much on the sale, focus on helping them.
Exactly. And so whether it's a 1-call, 2-call, 3-call close, I'm trying really hard to make sure that we're not pressuring anybody into making that decision. But if I was on a biz op offer and the person's an accountant and they've been hating their job for the last decade, it's like, let's really draw a line in the sand here, right? But depending on who you're talking to, what type of offer you have, not all advice is going to be applicable. And that's why in sales,
sometimes people really need that extra time, I think, to really
100%
to really go all in. Because if someone makes a rash decision, they could regret it right after. But imagine they take a little bit of time to really like pray about it or talk to family and really see if it's something that is going to be a good fit for them and they're going to take seriously. Sometimes people genuinely need some time.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, like, I have a little screenshot and I can put it on the screen, like, of my closing from my last from my last year as a full-time sales rep. I think I sold like 3.2 million in 12 months. And the other closer, who's a really good friend of mine, he's awesome. He sold like 2.4, which is still really good, by the way. But the difference is like 800K. And it was we had the same exact amount of 1-call closes, same exact amount, except I had twice the number of same week closes and twice the number, or maybe 3 times the number of long-term closes.
You wouldn't try to like hard close.
No, I built a relationship with the person. I nurtured them along and I met them where they were at. And sometimes that meant 47 emails reminding them who they want to be. Yeah. Sometimes that meant 18 text messages and 17 phone calls reminding them of the choice that they're trying to make. And so all this Instagram, don't build rapport, never follow up, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my whole existence. Amen, brother. Dude. Oh my God. Amen. If you believe in your program and you believe in the person and they don't buy on that call, don't just throw it away right there.
Sign me up to that, dude.
Dude, you got to have it, man. Bro. Yeah, we can just end it on that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's just like, come on, man. Like, meet the people where they're at. It doesn't have to be a one call close. And a lot of these objection handling videos you see online, which shout out to my boy Johnny, right? He created a whole army of people who are making the
Oh,
same type of content. Uh, but it's like, dude, these are role plays.
yeah.
They're not real.
Yeah.
They're not real calls. And I just want to sometimes, like, my guys will say, like, I saw this thing on Instagram and zing, zing, zing. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, how about we just meet the person where they're at? How about we understand them and we listen to them and we actually have a quality conversation in between asking the next fucking question on the script, and we genuinely just love them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie Drill Bit Taylor, where the guy he's like a homeless guy, and he basically like starts working as a security guard for these kids that are getting bullied in school, and the guy's getting bullied in school, and he's like, yeah, the bully's just messing with me, and the Drill Bit Taylor guy, he's like, well, have you tried loving him? And he's like, dude, I'm not going to bang him. And it's like, have you tried just like showing up with genuine empathy and care for the person? I used to have this credo that I would say before every day of calls. And it was something like, God, help me show up for these people and actually listen to them and genuinely understand them. And XYZ, 1, 2, 3. But if you just show up and do that, you're going to go a lot further. Quit trying to win the sale. Like, meaning like beat the other person. Get on the same side of the table as them and meet them where they're at. And sometimes that takes longer than one call. And like,
how can I help you, right? How can I help you achieve your goals?
Yep.
It's the mindset.
Yeah. And for anybody who's watching and you really want to get good at sales and you really want to make it in this industry, I would just encourage you can still do the skill set and become a master at it, like +1 to that all day long. But remember that you're talking to a human being and that humans are complex. And it's kind of like, I was a waiter, right? I waited tables at Olive Garden and a few different restaurants. And not everybody wants to be waited on the same. Some people you have to hover over, high touch. They need a glass of water. They need a refill, 1, 2, 3. Some people are there with their girlfriend and they haven't seen him in a year. And it's a long distance relationship and they just want to be left alone.
Yeah, they don't want you to come.
Right? Some people's old man, they want to, just take their time, right? So you kind of have to know who you're talking to, lean into meeting people where they're at. And I know I've said that a few times, but it's just like,
stop treating everyone like a script.
Yeah, it's not a script thing, man. You're having real conversation with real people, and you can make them have a change. So,
absolutely,
dude, it's been a long, absolutely awesome ride on the conversation today. One thing I do want to ask before we wrap up is like, what are some of your goals going forward into the next 6 to 12 months, so that we can use this as a timestamp and just kind of reflect on it after some time. Like, what's next for you, and where do you want to go?
So I think a few goals of mine are, number one, I want to keep helping more people, keep scaling my offer. I want to buy some investment properties this year. I'm 100% going to do that. And really just set myself up for the future and set my family up for the future. And then something that I've really thought about recently, and I think that this is maybe the next play for me, but I want to help other people that have had gambling addictions. Because I know for me, it was a very dark place in my life and I didn't turn to anyone, and that was 100% my fault. There's definitely help out there, but people understanding that you're not alone and you have help. So I don't know, I'm thinking about maybe diving into that, and not something that I would get paid for. Just, I don't know, that's kind of like a soft something that I'm trying to really like understand what it would be like. But yeah, I would say biggest goals is just be smart overall, help more people, and overall just keep building my life, keep building the people around me, create good relationships, nurture relationships, really care about the people around me, and really take life more seriously overall.
Dude, man, you've got an awesome heart, and you're 21, 22?
I'll be 22 in a few weeks.
Dude, well, happy early birthday. We're the first ones to tell you. You're a very impressive young guy, man, and I know you're going to crush it, and this is literally only the beginning for you. So I'm really glad we got to have this conversation, man. Let's do it. All right. Until next time, brother.